Scholomance Academy is knuckin' futs. And I'm not just saying that in the regard of, oh, look at all of these powerful cards. Oh my god, what are we gonna do with all of this power creep? No, I mean, this is some of the nuttiest and most inspired card design I have ever seen in this godforsaken game since maybe Whispers of the Old Gods. That being said, no amount of testing can really stop some of these cards from being a little bit stronger than Blizzard might have intended. So today, I'm gonna be using my big galaxy gamer brain to predict which cards are gonna get nerfed a little on down the line once Scholomance is right up on our doorsteps, and actually a few cards that could use a little bit of a power increase, just a little bit of a disclaimer. This list is going to be more for the standard portion of Hearthstone and not so much the wild portion, because just about everything in wild is overpowered. You know who you are. Alright, let's get right down to it. Let me hop on over to my list here. First card up to bat, Twilight Runner. 5 mana, 5/4 Druid Beast with stealth, and whenever this attacks, draw 2 cards. Now, this card pisses me off. Is this the card that Ancient of Lore died for? Granted, a lot of this card's power comes from another Druid card, the 7 mana epic spell, Guardian Animals. Summon 2 beasts that cost 5 or less from your deck, give them rush. So this thing can attack immediately. Turn 7 comes around, you play it, you attack with the 5/4, you draw 2 cards, you more than likely remove one of your enemy's minions. There's no downside to this. And along with that, you can just play it. You won't feel bad about playing a 5 mana 5/4 stealth. You don't care. Because you know it's gonna attack. You know you're gonna get 2 cards off of it. You know that Ancient of Lore deserved better. My prediction for this card nerf, one of two things. They're either gonna keep it at 5 mana and they're gonna bring it down to a 4/4, or they're gonna bump it up to 6 mana, keep it as a 5/4, so that way you can't get it off of Guardian Animals anymore. And that's gonna be the balance of this thing. Next up on the chopping block, Voracious Reader. I know this might come as a bit of a surprise to some people, but hear me out, hear me out, hear me out. Stop. Hear me out. 2 mana 1/3 neutral rare. At the end of your turn, draw until you have 3 cards. Now, the reason I think this is going to get nerfed is because over in Wild, there's a lot of aggro decks that already run Jeeves. And Jeeves is a much worse version of this card. Like, so many tiers lower that it almost gives me whiplash. So the deal with this thing is that there's not an aggro deck that doesn't play this. I could argue that there's almost no deck that doesn't play this. For aggro decks, you lose out on your hand by turn 3. You can top deck Voracious Reader, and look, you're back in the fold. You're back in the game. This card alone is going to power aggro decks later on down the line. Now, what would I do to this one? Admittedly, it's hard to really say what I would do with this one. But if I had to guess, keep the stat line, just draw 2 cards. Just 2. Next up, we have the card that when it was revealed, I almost got an eviction notice from how loud I screamed. Flesh Giant. An 8 mana 8/8 epic priest or warlock card. Cost 1 less for each time your hero's health changed during your turns. This thing is a problem. And it is a problem because Zoo can run it. We're going to ignore the priest part of this card altogether. Priest isn't going to run this. And if they do run it, they're stupid. Warlock, on the other hand, every single Warlock deck is going to run this card. By turn 4, if you've done nothing but press the button, you have it down to 4 mana, and then suddenly it's just Mountain Giant all over again. I can definitely see games being decided just because your Warlock opponent kept tapping and then they played a 4 mana 8/8 with no downside. But Jack, they're gonna be down to 22 health. It doesn't matter. Warlock can heal that shit up like they're at a goddamn free clinic. Warlock doesn't care. Warlock doesn't care about his health total. Warlock might as well have 60 health and take away all of their healing cards, because that's about the same shit. Before I pop a Blood Vessel, let me say how I would nerf this card. Just bump it up to 12 mana. 8 mana is nowhere near enough. Next up, Ace Hunter Kreen. Thank you, Hunter Ace, for giving us this atrocity. There's really not much I can say about Ace Hunter Kreen. 3 mana 2/4, the stat line is fine, but it's where the ability comes in that's the problem. So Ace Hunter Kreen is a 3 mana 2/4, Demon Hunter, Hunter legendary. Your other characters are immune while attacking. That's a legendary effect. That is goddamn cuckoo. The issue comes in with Demon Hunter more so than Hunter. Hunter can protect their beasts, sure, but Hunter plays a more token style game to where they don't really care about losing out on the tokens. They'll lose their board, but then they'll just refill it the very next turn anyway. With Demon Hunter has some big boys. Along with that, most of Demon Hunter's removal comes at the expense of them hitting your minion with their face. So they're losing out on a little bit of health whenever they go to remove a lot of your stuff. The fact that this card just negates that downside altogether, don't know about that one, Chief. When it comes to Big Demon Hunter, his big demons aren't whittling themselves down on your minions after they constantly clear and clear and clear, because they're immune. Nothing's gonna happen to them. Poisonous, nothing. Big attack stats, nothing. Some random combobulation of effects that could happen while this minion is attacking, it doesn't matter. He's immune. Nothing happens to him. After all that, what would I do to this card? One of two things, maybe one of three things. Thing number one, make it to where only a minion, where minions are immune. It still gives Demon Hunter the downside of him having to trade off health for getting rid of all your garbage, while still keeping the theme of the card intact with protecting your minions while they're hitting your garbage. Thing number two, keep it as a 2/4, but bump it up to 4 mana. Really, sometimes all it takes is just a 1 mana bump. Thing number three, bump it down to 2 health. With a card like this, survivability in of itself is one hell of a priority. And 4 health at 3 mana is a very healthy total. So bumping it down to 2 health, you can get rid of it much easier to where it won't be as oppressive as I think it will be. Moving on, next up, okay, so this might be a controversial pick, but Instructor Fireheart. 3 mana 3/3 Shaman legendary battle cry. Discover a spell that costs 1 or more. If you play it this turn, repeat this effect. Now the reason I think that this effect is powerful is because shamans have a lot of powerful, low-cost spells that they have in their arsenal. And where that effect becomes a problem isn't towards the early game. No shaman's going to play this in the early game unless they're going against an aggro deck that has them in the corner by turn 4. And hopefully they can discover something. What that something is? Hope? How much mana does hope cost? No, this effect is a lot more powerful towards the late game. And look, even though I absolutely despise aggro decks and I will never play them, and I think Blizzard should remove them entirely, a lot of the community thinks that aggro decks have a place in the game. This guy? No. I want them to suffer. But I'm a man of the people, and the people say that aggro decks have a place, and this card on its own could shut them down towards the mid-game. There's no aggro deck that will ever survive Instructor Fireheart if it gets to be like turn 5. So, how would I change Instructor Fireheart? Honestly, just make it 4 mana. You can't really change this kind of card without changing its effect up, and I want to try and avoid changing the effects themselves. Make it tour only a minion where minions are immune. So, we'll keep Instructor Fireheart the same, bump her up to 4 mana. You're still gonna see her, but she's not gonna shut you out. Okay, so now you got my 2 cents on the cards that I think are way overboard. Let's move on to the cards that could use just a little bit of testosterone. I say cards, but it's actually just card-duh. Scholomance Academy is a surprisingly balanced set by the looks of it so far. Like, it is crazy how good they did on this. But there is one card that I think got a little bit of a shafting. And that is Totem Goliath. 5 mana, 4/5. Death Rattle, summon all 4 basic totems. Overload 2. This Shaman class minion is a totem in of itself, which is great. That's awesome. I love seeing big totems again. Totem Golem, where are you at? Fucking give me a little something like that. But the issue comes in the form of, I just think Overload 2 is too much. You can look at Overload in a few separate ways. One way being, what would this card cost if it didn't have Overload? And effectively, this card would cost 7 mana. And I'm just like, excuse me? You think I want to pay 7 mana for a 5 mana 4/5 that just summons all totems? Like, not really. Or you could look at it as, okay, you could look at it as a restriction, which is, you know, what it is. That's exactly what it is. Well, that's the theory of what Overload is. The deal here is that the stat allocation and the effect don't line up with the Overload cost. At least not in my eyes. If you ask me, Totem Goliath, the effect that it has, I think you can get away with bumping it up to a 5 mana 4/6 Overload 1. Hey, a little bit of post-production here. As I was editing this video, I remembered that splitting axe is a thing. And that Totem Goliath feeds right into a good splitting axe turn. You'll either have 8 totems or you'll have another Totem Goliath. So, never mind. Totem Goliath is fine. So anyway, that's the list. That is my nerfs and buffs list for Scholomance Academy. I am very much looking forward to this new expansion because it is going to be stupid. It is going to be dumb. It is going to be ridiculous. And I am going to love every second of it. Down in the comments, tell me your opinions. Tell me cards that you would buff, cards that you would nerf. Tell me what I got right. Tell me what I got wrong. Joke's on you. I didn't get anything wrong because I am way too smart for that. Thank you everyone for watching. You can catch me on my Twitch streams at twitch.tv/JackRedacted every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and expect 2 YouTube videos, new YouTube videos every week. Maybe more. Maybe less. Who knows? I don't work for you.